I like Bugsnax. It's a fun game with a good story, good characters, etc. But while playing the game, I had a thought. Spoilers, by the way, because I'm going to talk about the ending. This game's like 4 years old, but still, experience the ending first. What if Bugsnax were animals or plants instead of parasites? So I'll attempt to talk about how the snacks could actually work as species. But I'm not a biologist or an expert in biology. I took it for 1 year where I did multicellular stuff and a bunch of YouTube and Google research in a school term about the human body. So like, comment, subscribe if you want to hear more from me, then join Mr. Explodey's Discord where you can interact with me, see my art, and get added for videos as soon as I post them. But now let's talk about... Alright, I did say we do this, but the most important question stands before we can actually start. Are Bugsnax animals or snacks? Since I doubt they could actually be plants. They say words and move, so the eye obviously, and have enough awareness to run away from us when we spot them. But let's start with how they reproduce. That's a good question. We'll use this Strabby as an example. This Strabby could either asexually reproduce, which is likely false due to the fact that they're more than just red Strabbies. This includes white Strabbies and species of raspberries. While it's possible that they still asexually reproduce, and that they still have some ancestry between these kinds of species. We could even include species with similar behaviors like weevils, possibly. The other option is a good chunk of people on the internet don't do. Have sex with our Strabby, it could be clear that the reproductive organs could be at the bottom of the Strabby. That can be clear, but some of them, But I have forgotten about how they actually reproduce within the game. That being by being consumed by grumpuses and turning them into Bugsnax. But we'll be throwing this out since animals can't actually do that. Anyways, we can continue this conversation of sexual dimorphism. This is where, depending on the gender of the species, it can change the outcome of the adult species. It can be something as minuscule as size to something as major as that they look entirely different. A good example for the second one is black widows, where the female is the iconic black spider, with it being much larger than the small brown male. Can't believe I'm teaching biology in a Bugsnax video. But we're not done. There isn't any sort of snack which has this. However, it's still actually possible that this exists. It could be that there's very little dimorphism. This is obviously due to the fact that they aren't animals in the game. But we've only been looking at animals for this. But if we look at plants, and after a bit of googling, I learned that plants do have sexual dimorphism, but it's rarer and less prevalent in plants in comparison to animals. So this could imply that they're hybrids of plants and animals, despite how impossible that is. But we're talking about a game where an aphid and a strawberry are the same species. But another important question is, how do they eat or drink? Well, if you look at how an animal would consume, is with a digestive system and a mouth. But most snacks do not have mouths, so we'll look at how plants and even a couple species consume via photosynthesis. I'm not explaining it since most people know what it is. Yet some species actually use this. However, they use either symbiotic relationships, but some species, such as the sea slug Alesia chlorotica, and the yellow spot salamander are a couple examples of species that can incorporate chloroplasts or algae for such capabilities, which could actually be possible that Bugsnax do something similar, if they're actually a hybrid of a creature and a plant. But if not, yeah, I don't know. This is a what if, not actual speculation. However, there's still something I'm not particularly sure yet, and that is... There are two types of big snacks. One, the free DLC, which had several large Bugsnax, including a new boss. And two, snacks which are made of several others. But we'll talk about the first one since it has an actual real-life counterpart. Wow! That being island gigantism, which is when an animal is on a small island and it can either get larger or smaller. When it gets larger, this is island gigantism. But when it gets smaller, this is island dwarfism. But how does this fit into Bugsnax? Yeah, that's a big-ass bunker right there. Yeah, I don't think I need to explain this any further. Now, the much more confusing of the two, the breakable Bugsnax. I'm gonna be honest, this might be some of the least realistic stuff that isn't related to them being eaten. Because this is either a hive mind that's formed where snacks go together somehow, Or it's like a school of fish, where instead of fishes and Bugsnax going together like they're the new Transformers. This could either be a symbiotic group between groups of snacks or development cycles for certain ones, like popsicles or palatosci? No idea. But that's the best guess I have on what these types of snacks could be. But we should actually talk about the core feature of Bugsnax, snackification. Yeah, this shouldn't be possible. The closest thing to this is when animals kill whatever eat it with poisons or parasites that take over the species. Generally, disease can be gained from eating animals raw, like you would with Bugsnax. However, there are actually some things which can be eaten raw. That being certain types of beef, fish, and oyster. Do not try it. Trust me, I'm just a YouTuber. How ironic. The main premise of you are what you eat isn't even possible. Let's say snackification is something unique to Snack-tube and that Bugsnax can be eaten like they were cooked meals. There, the key premise of the game about eating a bug that's also a snack's been solved. But I did mention something about evolution a while ago. Why not go into more detail about it? The evolution of Bugsnax is a very unknown topic. So this could be either A, based on what insects they're based on, B, behavioral patterns, C, food types, or D, what food they're based on. But let's skip the guess and it's insects they're based on. Or should I actually say family trees? So for example, bungers are based on rhinoceros beetles, while a Cheetobordal rex is based on the dung beetle, and a Capelcheetle is based on a beetle. And since they're all beetles, they're part of the same family tree. So using the wiki to determine species, I can create a rough family tree for Bugsnax. So beetles would be in its own family and have their own ancestors, which should fit with most beetle-based snacks. But I don't really want to talk about much more on evolution since I don't think there's anything else I can really add. So I'll focus on the big scary snacks, which is... The boss snacks are large snacks that you need to do specific quest lines to fight and then catch, where you have to feed the boss to a Grumpus who comes with. But you can rematch them, and when you do, you actually get to keep the boss snack. And some of these are very interesting, which will start off with the first one you might get. The Mama Melon and the Wee Melons are ticks based off watermelons. But that mostly doesn't matter. What does matter is the Mama Melon's behaviors. At the start of the fight, it's rusting with various Wee Melons, and during the fight, it will charge at snack traps that have Wee Melons in there. Using this information, we can tell that it cares about its little ones, and with how it's resting, it can show a bond between the two creatures. This could either be that the Wee Melons are actually the spawn of the Mama Melon, and that the Wee Melons will eventually become the Mama Melons, or be a symbiotic relationship between two similar species, Wee Melons being a subspecies that are severely smaller and more defenseless, perhaps being used as distractions or lures, and the Mama which takes care of them and gets whatever food the Wee Melons help get. My guess is on the first one. Now next up is our second closest, Mothra Supreme, and Bombinos. These have like nothing really to do with each other. So the second best thing we have, the Daddy Cake Legs and Baby Cake Legs. Similar to the Mama Melons and Wee Melons, except for when the cake legs lose a layer of cake, 4 baby cake legs spawn, and begin to go where the daddy cake legs has relocated. He does this yet again until the fight is over. After the fight, the baby cake legs just wander about where the statue is of the daddy cake legs, which is where you can refight it if you want to. The reason why the baby cake legs behave like this could be due to the fact that the daddy cake legs is no longer there. And since they have no master or parent to go to, they just wander in a small circle. The reason why they split off from the daddy cake legs could be that they're a part of the daddy cake legs as a hive mind, with adult cake legs forming the top, which could be the dominant cake legs of the pack. Which is why baby cake legs treat it as their master. Now for the third and arguably more fascinating one, Mega Maki and Mini Maki. Finally, one which doesn't have a stupid name like Daddy Cake Legs. These two emerge from the sea with many Mini Makis following behind one Mega Maki. Using the trip shot will make them disband like Sandopedes, but the Mini Makis run around, panicking that they aren't alive anymore. However, once the fight is finished, the Mini Makis are now just aggressive instead of running around scared. They're likely the same species, either different life cycles or gender dimorphism, where a male or female is the Mega Monkey, while the other gender is the Mini Monkey. And their initial panic could be that they suddenly disbanded, which caused them to panic. Whereas after the fight, they calm down and go to being aggressive with the Mega Monkey. But now the last one, and I promise has nothing to do with family, is the Cheddar-Bortle Rex and Cheddar-Orbs. Which the Cheddar-Bortle Rex chucks Cheddar-Orbs at the player during the boss fight, which are used as something to launch at the Cheddar-Bortle Rex. The reason why the Cheddar-Bortle Rex does this could be that it's either a symbiotic relationship where the Cheddar-Bortle uses the Cheddar-Orbs as weapons to chuck things to stun various snacks and then do the finishing blow to kill them, and sharing with the Cheddar-Orbs, or the Cheddar-Bortle Rex just steals Cheddar-Orbs and uses them as weapons while they get nothing from it. Both are quite possible, but I think that might be everything I thought of with this idea, so we might as well come to a conclusion already. Finally! Now we've talked about everything, I just want to say thank you all for watching this lovely video, which I've worked very hard on. But well, folks, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe. If you want to hear more from me, then join Mr. Exploit's Discord server where you can interact with me, see my art, and get added for videos as soon as I post them. But aside from that, sayonara, suckers!